Hello valued viewers, I hope you're all doing very well. A couple of days ago we did this 2025 Operation Rising Lion. It's where we looked at the first 24 hours of Israeli airstrikes on Iranian targets. It was good, but a lot of you guys complained, saying you can't just show the battle from one side, that's unfair. You've also got to show Iranian attacks. So that's what we're doing today, long-range ballistic missile attacks on Israeli targets. First thing, don't worry viewers, I'm not going to be sending ballistic missiles into residential areas. It will all be military and all missiles will hit non-manned targets, okay? So today we're going to be looking at what happened in the first 24 hours. My understanding is around 100 Iranian ballistic missiles were sent against targets in 3 waves, about 33 missiles in each wave. Today I'm going to have all of those 100 missiles against one nominal target. We're going to defend it with the type of layered defense that Israel is using, and we're going to see what kind of results we get. Now, if you watch the videos online, you can see that with every large missile attack that Iran sends, usually at least one missile gets through. Somewhere between kind of 1 and 5 missiles tends to get through, depending how well the target is defended and so on. So the first thing we need to do today, viewers, is quickly understand how the layered defense works in Israel. And to do that, I borrowed this slide today from the BBC. Let's hope they don't mind. The BBC claim 4 systems are being used in the Israeli defense. 3 indigenous, 1 foreign. That is Iron Dome, indigenous, David Sling, indigenous, the Arrow systems, indigenous, and THAAD, borrowed from America. Now, I'm aware that other systems have been playing a part. The US Navy SM-3 I know has scored some kills, but from what I can see, only sparingly. These 4 are the mainstay of the defense at the vast majority of the places in Israel that have been attacked. So they are part of a layered defense system. And the first thing to understand is why you have a layered defense system. Well, the fact is you can't design a missile defense system, or should we say a missile interceptor, that can intercept a ballistic missile at all altitudes. If you make an interceptor that intercepts ballistic missiles on its mid-course at hundreds of kilometers altitude, that missile will be terrible at intercepting the ballistic missile at low altitudes in its terminal phase. And vice versa. If you design a small maneuverable missile that can hit low in its terminal phase, it would be terrible at hitting them at high altitudes. So you have a whole series of missiles, each increasing in size as they're designed to hit the ballistic missiles higher up and further from the target. Let's look at these 4. Iron Dome, first, in terms of lateral distance, can intercept a ballistic missile up to 70 kilometers. David Sling, the next one up to 300 kilometers. Remember, this is purely lateral at the moment. THAAD cannot go as far, up to 200 kilometers, and the Arrow systems up to 2,400 kilometers, very much in a long-range ballistic missile's mid-course. Then there's the altitude. Just because an interceptor has a long lateral range doesn't mean that also equates to its vertical range. In terms of altitude, THAAD has the highest intercept altitude at 150 kilometers. Arrow, 100 kilometers. David Sling, much lower, and that's going to play a part today. 15 kilometers. Iron Dome, 10 kilometers. Next, we need to decide which systems we're going to be using in our simulation today. Well, ideally, I would like to use all of them, and I have access to all of them, but I can't use all of them. The reason is, in real life, the missiles Iran is firing at Israel are being shot at a distance of about 1,400 kilometers. So if that's Israel there, that's Iran there. They're being shot from here up to an altitude of, my guessing, of about 400 kilometers in altitude, and then they dive back down. That means there is plenty of scope for the long-range Arrow to intercept it on its mid-course, but I have restrictions in my sim. In my sim, due to the fact that we have a max ceiling that missiles can go at of 100 kilometers, about 300,000 feet, the longest range I can launch my missiles is about here, about 600 kilometers. That means by the time it gets to its mid-course where it's interceptable, it's pretty much out of Arrow system parameters. So the Arrow, due to restrictions of the missiles that I can launch, is no use. Instead, we're going to be using Iron Dome, David Sling, and THAAD. Okay, viewers, let's move on. So we're going to try and remember those stats as best we can. Onto today's simulation, we have the terrain in question. Here is Israel, Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and Iraq over here. As I said, due to restrictions, we're not firing the missiles from Iran. Instead, we're firing them from the border here, about 300 miles away. They will top out at about 300,000 feet, 100 kilometers. Here are the lateral range rings of the systems that we just talked about: Iron Dome, THAAD, and David Sling. Now, the target today is the middle of a runway, and don't worry, there's no one there to get hit. The point defense today is going to be Iron Dome. One Iron Dome battery here just aft the target, set to max skill level. I'm not sure if skill level actually affects ground units or not, but I've done it just in case. The next layer of defense, the David Sling system here, right on the target. And finally, we have the outer and third layer today, which is going to be the American THAAD. I've put that 40 odd miles to the east here, and it's a large system. So again, those range rings in those positions give us THAAD 200 kilometers, David Sling 300 kilometers from its position, and Iron Dome 70 kilometers from its position. Finally, the amount of missiles each battery has is obviously critical. If you run out of missiles or run low on missiles, your efficiency can go down to zero. So 60 interceptors in the Iron Dome battery, 40 in THAAD, and 36 in David Sling. Today we're going to launch our generic Grim Reaper's ballistic missile at the target. The ballistic missile will top out at about 300,000 feet at a max speed of about 8 times the speed of sound, and it will impact the ground at about 3 times the speed of sound, about 2100 knots. I'm going to launch 100 missiles as claimed on the first 24 hours of conflict. I'm not going to launch them in separate salvos because I assume that Iran is smart enough, if they were sending all salvos at one target, to put times between the salvos that do not allow enough time for interceptors to be reloaded. If they did, then they're pretty stupid, right? The whole idea is they want to overwhelm the system. So today, all missiles will come in sequentially over the course of about 10 minutes. And that's it. Predictions, well, what's the point of predicting? I have absolutely no idea, and understanding these ballistic and anti-ballistic missile simulations is just almost impossible. So we're just going to see what happens. And in we go. The first missile is being launched, already up to 60,000 feet. I hope you can hear me okay. Distances involved today: nautical miles, 260 nautical miles, about 300 statute miles. You can see the scoreboard at the top, which will show you how many have been launched, and so far 11 have been launched. 4,200 knots, 145,000 feet, and rapidly increasing. In real life, these have been launched at about 2.5 times the distance, about 800 miles from the west of Iran, although as the IAF take control of the western areas of Iran, they're having to be pushed further east, which means longer ranges, of which not all of the ballistic missiles Iran has can do. And it's interesting to see how the amount of ballistic missiles day on day being fired seem to be reducing, and that's presumably because the IAF are pushing them further and further back, making the missiles less effective, and also it's just harder and harder for them to be launched because they are being hunted on their launch vehicles by the Israeli Air Force. Let's have a quick look at the SAMs before they start firing. THAAD here by CH, of which each vehicle has 8 interceptors, total 40 interceptors. Let's have a look at, let's have a look at the IDF today, provided by IDF mods, and I'll try and remember to put the video, the download link in the video description. Each has 12 interceptors, David Sling interceptors, and a radar. And finally, Iron Dome. I'm sure you've seen it a trillion times. Much smaller, lower range, lower altitude missiles, and you have Tamir missiles, 20 per tel, and CP and a radar. Now, critical is the probability of kill of each missile, because no missile is perfect. No missile can hit a target every time. An average probability of THAAD apparently in real life is 92%, and so I've plugged in essentially 92%, or as best as I can simulate that, into THAAD, because I have control of THAAD. I do not have control of the IDF mods, so they are whatever the designers have set them to. And first missiles out from THAAD. Huge! High altitude, very fast interceptors, and that must be because the missiles have got within the ring here. There's one more thing to think about, viewers. I'm just going to pause it very quickly. Now remember, these are the lateral ranges only, so they've got within the lateral range of THAAD, and THAAD is firing. So why isn't David Sling firing if David Sling can operate all the way out here? Well, remember, it's altitude specific as well. THAAD can go all the way up to 150 kilometers altitude. These are currently at 240,000 feet. That in my head is about, I think it's about 80 kilometers. So it's within THAAD's reach vertically, but outside of David Sling's altitude coverage. And that's a real problem with David Sling. It can only reach up to 15 kilometers, about 45,000 feet. So that we're going to see is probably a big restriction today. Taking a look at THAAD Interceptor, it's a multi-stage missile with a vector control hit-to-kill vehicle, and there's the hit-to-kill vehicle. So the missile is essentially gone. It's now the hit-to-kill vehicle, which is kind of like a mini space shuttle, and it has thrusters to allow it to maneuver in space. And of course, it's designed to be used in space. That's what it does. Okay, here we go. We'll spend most of the time watching from map because map is where we get our best information, viewers. But every now and then we're going to want a bit of nice 3D action. You can see one missed there, two missed there, three missed there. Well, some misses, and it happens. Most of the time it doesn't, but sometimes it does. The reason it misses is, I don't know, to be honest, it's a bit too complicated for me. If I had more time to operate, I would get one of the ballistic missile specialists on, but I don't always get time, and I'm down to 3 days a week, unfortunately, due to lack of earnings. So I'll just do the best I can, viewers. Interceptions, I mean, those interceptions are so fast. The ballistic missiles are going 8 times the speed of sound at this point. The THAAD interceptor is probably going about 8 times the speed of sound. We got one there. 2 have got through THAAD. Oh God, words are hard. 2 have got through THAAD, and that's just showing that THAAD is not the be-all and end-all as good as it is. Which means we've now got David Sling firing, or have we? Have we got David Sling? Yes, we have got him firing. I just missed it for some reason. Another multi-stage missile, and if you want a weird missile, viewers, I'll give you David Sling. It has a bent nose. If you know why it has a bent nose, please let me know, viewers. I just haven't had time to research it, but it's presumably something to do with the way it maneuvers. In terms of missiles, I forgot to say, we've got plenty of missiles today. We've got like 150 or something. This one's got round look as well. We've got like 150 missiles today, and there's only 100 being fired, so there's plenty of quantity. It's just quality. Is this one snuck? Is this one really snuck by? No, it's not. A stunner gets it. The David Sling fires stunner. The Tamir missile is fired by the I was going to say Patriot, not Patriot. Iron Dome. Total missiles fired at the top. You can see 39 missiles fired by Blue Force. Red Force. Iran has fired 62 missiles, and they'll keep going. One thing that's critical is time on target. The more missiles Iran can fire to arrive at exactly the same time on the target, the more effective their attack will be, but it's a very difficult thing to do. Still relying very much on THAAD. Remember, this is all about layered defense. The layers are crucial. 37 THAAD have now been fired. Once that is depleted, and these things don't have infinite missiles, then you're going to start to see the layers starting to break down. You rely on less and less layers, and things are going to get a bit problematic. And I reiterate, none of these SAMs are perfect. None will get 100%. You can see this one's got right by, even when it had missiles. So the more layers you take away, the less chance that those things are going to intercept it. Right, luckily we've still got 2 layers. So Stunner or Tamir will probably do the job, he says, as they don't fire for some reason. Well, they don't fire because it's the altitude. Look, it's only just reached 50,000 feet. So David Sling can only reach it now. And there he goes on its twirly-whirly course with its funny crooked nose, viewers. I am nose shaming you. Boom, gotcha. It feels like about 92% THAAD PK, as I put in. It feels like about 95% for the IDF stuff, but your guess is as good as mine. Anyway, missiles still churning their way. 90 missiles fired, so almost the whole night's attack on their way now. And we see now THAAD is defeated, so we're down from 3 layers down to 2. So the pressure on David Sling, the pressure on Iron Dome is going to increase. Wow, what's happened there? Something got blown up. No, I don't think it did. Okay, that's David Sling going up. And that is damn impressive, isn't it? Look at it go. Here we go. Go Stunner. I see that they've modelled Stunner to go quite slow. I mean, for a missile, look at that. Mark 2. Mark 2.5. I haven't even seen them get up to Mark 3 yet. I don't know why that is. I think Tamir goes a bit faster. Let's have a look. Oh, I can't really get it. Oh, jeez, I thought they were through. So far, nothing has got through. 100 missiles fired. All missiles have been fired by Iran now. Stunner coming in. And I reiterate, it looks like they're hitting every time. They won't, I can guarantee that. So it's full cooperation needed by all layers, or at least both layers at this point to win. How many are still coming in? There's still probably 4 dozen coming in. So it's all about that critical percentage of hit, viewers, and it's a basic math game. And if that math game fails at any point, that's it. Your missile's getting through, because by the time you get to react, you see what happened there? Oh, I thought that was about to be my moment. Not to be. Stunner's out. Note how Tamir's often fire at the same target as the stunner, and that's because although, I should pause at this point, all 3 batteries are linked together. Can they all link together in real life? I don't actually know the answer to that, but here they are. So they all talk together in a kind of pseudo-Aegis system and divide up targets. That doesn't mean they'll fire perfectly efficiently, because sometimes they think they need more missiles to attack a target if it's a threat, so they'll fire Tamir at the same time as stunner. Well, kudos so far. It's all working pretty well. 76 missiles fired, so as long as they keep operating like this, I see no reason why they won't win it with a clean sheet. Yeah, really good PK from Stunner so far. Oh, there's a miss. There's a miss. Is it going to get through? Is it? Oh, lucky. Pause. And that was why I said Stunner missed at 50,000 feet. So it was lucky that Tamir was fired at the same time. So it's not a waste to have Tamir firing at the same time, because that missile would have got through. And this is why it gets so complicated, and it becomes almost impossible to predict these things. There's a miss again. More and more errors. Again, Tamir saved the day. Stunner missed, Tamir hit. You've got to have your layers. Without your layers, everything breaks down. You can't rely on a single layer. I think they might do it, because if both sides fire, that means 98, let's say we're 95%, 95% and 95%, you know, the chance of a dual failure is going to be extremely small, right? I think it's 95 times 95? No, I can't remember. You guys can work it out for me. And maybe that's why only one up there. Tamir didn't fire. Tamir didn't fire. Yes, it did. Ooh, gee, talk about friggin' redundancy. Well, viewers, this could not get much closer, I've got to say. Stunner missed. Stunner missed. Has Tamir fired? Yes, it has. Again, the chance of both missing is very small. Pause. I think one's finally got through. You see that? Tamir missed and Stunner missed. That tiny 1 in 1,000 chance is through. Nothing stops it now. Unpause. I can't actually remember how to speed it up. There we go. And there you go. There is your 1 per night. Oops. Sorry, viewers. I'm panicking because I'm all excited. Through. Don't worry, it's an unmanned drone vehicle there. I just needed there to see if one got through that I missed. And bop, gotcha. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And it shows how good this simulation has got, viewers. It's literally, maybe by fluke, I don't know, simulating exactly what's happening in real life, and no one's got through. They're not out of missiles. They've got missiles, but the layers, there's not enough layers firing. 1 through out of 100. 1 out of 100 thus far. I can't click on it fast enough. Fire, hit. Hit. How many more are coming? You must survive. I'm worried that Tamir's going to get overwhelmed now. There. He's through. He's through. 2 missiles through. Out. Is that my lot? I think we're out of missiles now. So the next problem is we've run out of missiles. Remember, we had 150 missiles or whatever it was to begin with. We have more than we needed, but we've run out, and that's the end of it. At this point, we can probably pause. That probably wouldn't happen in real life because, as we've seen, Iran is not firing this many missiles at a single target at a time. So we can scrap this bit. But what we still saw was when they still had 2 layers of defense left, 1 snuck through. And that is that tiny chance when layer 1 and layer 2 failed, which is possible but unlikely. That's when it got through. And I think that's a brilliant little example there, viewers, of how even the best in the world, and probably the best in the world BMD at the moment is in Israel, can still fail and the odd missile can get through. We'll watch these through now, but like I said, at this point it's probably not relevant to real life. Why does Iran fire 30 missiles per salvo? Well, presumably that's what it's calculated Israel can deal with, in an instant before we get what we just saw, a breakdown, and they can get 1 or 2 missiles through. Why doesn't it fire hundreds per salvo? Well, it can't afford to, viewers. It doesn't have hundreds of missiles. At Iran's peak, it had 3,000 missiles to use. That was reduced to about 1,500 before the beginning of this conflict that's happening now. They fired 400, 500. A whole load have been taken out. They've probably got a few hundred left at best. They can't just fire everything. That's it. That's pretty much all I've got to show viewers, and that worked, in my view, pretty close to what we're seeing. 98% of missiles are being taken out, but you can't stop them all. Eventually, the failures of the layers align over it such that you get leakage. And a funny thing with a car I was working on the other day is the piston rings in a car. You have 3 layers of piston rings, and if you're very unlucky and those piston rings rotate slightly under use so that the tiny gap that there is in a piston ring aligns on ring 1, 2 and 3, 1 in a million chance, you get a loss of pressure and the engine starts misbehaving. And that's kind of what's happened here. 1, 2, 3 layers have aligned so that they all fail at the same time. The missile gets through. That's really all I've got to show. I hope you enjoyed that, and bye-bye.